Hello guys, and today we are going to be reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Getaway. So let's get started. The worst part of having someone tell you about their holiday is trying to pretend you're happy for them, because no one wants to hear all about the fun they didn't have. The only holidays I want to hear about are the ones where things went wrong. That way I don't feel bad for missing out. Well, my family just got back from holiday, and believe me, I could have stayed home. I would have, but I didn't have a choice. A few weeks ago, the holiday wasn't even supposed to happen. We were just having a normal December, and I was really looking forward to Christmas. But Mum and Dad were getting all stressed out about everything we had to do to get ready for the holiday season. We were way bef- we had to do to get ready for the holiday season. We were way behind on decorating the house, and nothing was going the way it was supposed to. I'm sure we could have got our act together in time, but one night an ad came on TV that totally turned our Christmas upside down. Escape to luxury, escape to paradise. The commercial was for this place called Isla de Coralie, which was where Mom and Dad went for their honeymoon. The reason I know that is because every time an ad for that place comes, the two of them get all kissy faced. It makes me uncomfortable thinking about Mum and Dad before they had us kids. And I wouldn't have to, I wouldn't have to if Mum didn't bring out their honeymoon album every year on their anniversary. The night after the ad came on, Mum and Dad made the announcement. They said that this year we're going to skip Christmas and all go to Island of Corliss instead. When I asked how we were going to get our gifts to the resort, Mum said the trip was our gift. I thought that sounded like a terrible idea, and I was surprised Dad was on board with it. He doesn't usually like to spend a lot of money, and I was sure the resort was going to cost a fortune. But he said he was sick of the cold weather and wanted to escape to someplace warm. Personally, I don't have a problem with cold weather. In fact, generally speaking, the worse it is outside, the happier I am. I figured Maddie and Roderick would help me talk some sense into Mum and Dad and would put a stop to all this idea. But those guys weren't any help at all. So I had to accept that they weren't gonna have a normal Christmas at home. What I really didn't like was that we had to fly to this place I'd never been on a plane before, and I wasn't crazy about the idea of locking myself in a metal tube. Nothing else seemed worried to know. And 2 weeks later, on a night when we should have been handing up our stockings and sitting round the fire watching Christmas specials, we were packing our suitcases for this island getaway. Monday. We left the house around 8 o'clock on the morning of Christmas Eve. Dad was very uptight because he wanted to leave an hour earlier, but Mom said he was being ridiculous and would get to the airport in plenty of time. It was only about -5 degrees outside, but Roderick was all dressed ready for the holiday. It turned out Dad was right. We should have left earlier. Apparently Christmas Eve is one of the busiest travel days of the year, so the roads were choked with families driving to see their relatives, and nobody really seemed to be in Christmas spirit either. What made things a lot worse was when it started to snow. After that, things slowed down to a crawl. Mum and Dad started arguing over what time we should have left, and Dad almost missed the exit for the airport. He had to cut across 3 lanes of traffic, which didn't look easy. When we reached the airport, the main parking lot was full. That meant we had to park in the economy lot, which was pretty far away. Dad said he would drop the rest of us at the curb with all the luggage and then come meet us after it parked. When we got to the passenger drop-off area, it was complete chaos. We tried to unload our bags, but the cops weren't letting anyone stop for more than 30 seconds. And that just stressed everyone and made things worse. I had to get back in the car so I could help Dad with the rest of the bags. Only ordinarily, ordinarily, that kind of thing would have been Roderick's job, but since he was dressed for 30-degree weather, he got out of it. Look, he was lucky he did too. When we got to the gate for the economy dock, Dad couldn't reach the ticket from his window, so he made me get out the car and grab it. Unfortunately, I didn't notice that there was a giant slush puddle on my side of the car until it was too late. After we parked, we rolled our bags to the nearest shuttle stop, which wasn't a lot of fun. The sign said the shuttle bus to the main terminal came every 10 minutes, but there was no room for us in the bus shelter, so we had to wait outside in the freezing cold. 20 minutes went by without a bus, and Dad started getting really anxious about the time. He said we were just going to have to walk to the terminal, which was about a mile away. I would have tried to convince Dad to wait a little longer, but my sock was starting to turn into ice, and I didn't want to get frostbite. So sure enough, once we got to about 100 feet from the shelter, the shuttle bus was pulled into the parking lot. We tried to get the driver to stop, but he just blew right by us. So we ran to the shuttle stop, but we didn't make it back in time. Now Dad was really worried about missing our flight. I told him maybe missing the flight would be the worst thing to happen, but he didn't seem to be in the mood what I had to say. By the time we got to the terminal, we were both soaking wet and miserable. So when the pickup truck almost hit us on the crossing, it made Dad really mad, and he let the driver know. That just made the driver mad, and he pulled his truck over and stepped out of his vehicle. We didn't stick around long enough to talk to Finn's over with this guy. We ran in the opposite direction and blended in with some people standing on the pavement until the course was clear. Dad told me I could learn a lesson from this, which was to never lose your temper and do something stupid. But I took away a different lesson. When Heffley's get into trouble, Heffley's run. When the rest of the family was waiting inside to the entrance to the terminal, Mum wanted to know what took us so long, and Dad wanted to know why she hadn't got in line with Manny and Roderick and kept the place for us. It took 20 minutes for us to get through the check-in line, but when Dad put our big suitcase on the scales, the person at the counter said it was too heavy and it was going to cost extra money to check in. But Dad said the airline was ripping us off and we weren't going to give them an extra nickel. So we took some clothes out of the suitcase and stuffed them into our carry-on bags. By the time we got everything sorted out, we had half an hour to get out of our gate before our flight started boarding. And when we got to the security area, it was a total zoo. There were two lines, one for families and one for business travellers. I guess Dad usually gets to go through the business lane when he travels for work, so he didn't seem too happy being stuck with the rest of us in the family lane. Anytime you add the word family to something, you know things are going to be bad. And trust me, I know I've been to enough family restaurants to know what I'm talking about. We waited in the security line for a long time and we finally made it to the front, but then some kid a few rows behind us started pressing the buttons on the poles that hold the barriers together. All of a sudden there was nothing keeping the line separated, and for a second no one moved, but then things completely fell apart. By the time the security officer got all the back barriers reconnected, we ended up at the back of the line, and the family with the kid who caused all the trouble was at the front. Now Mum and Dad were really stressed because our flight was supposed to leave at any minute. Dad begged one of the security officers to let us go to the front, but he didn't seem too sympathetic. I thought we were going to miss our flight, so I didn't really see the point of going through security. But Dad said sometimes they leave the gate open until the last second and we might still make it. We finally got to the front of the line and we put our bags on the conveyor belt. Then we took off our coats and shoes and put them into some plastic trays. Manny saw what the rest of us were doing and he started taking off his clothes too. Luckily, Mum noticed in time and stopped him before he could go any further. Manny wasn't finished causing problems though. Apparently, he thought the conveyor belt was some kind of ride, and he was really upset when he found out it wasn't. The people behind us were getting frustrated we weren't moving, but we were being held up by the guy in front of us. He had to remove everything we had on that was metal, and it was taking him forever. Logic told me these machines could see through your clothes, and then someone checks a screen to make sure you're not trying to sneak by with anything dangerous. All I can say is that I wouldn't want to be the person with that job. It turns out the X-ray machine that sees through your clothes is only for grown-ups, and kids go through a metal detector instead. Still, I wasn't going to take any chances. Once we got through security, we grabbed our stuff from the conveyor belt and took off. Our gate was down on the lower level, so we had to take the escalator. We couldn't even do that without causing a major problem. Manny's stuffed animal got stuck in the bottom of the escalator, and he pressed the emergency stop button so Mom could pull it out free. Dad checked his watch and said we might still make it, so we ran for the gate. But the gate was all the way at the other end of the terminal, and we knew we wouldn't make it on time on foot. Just then a car for disabled passengers came along, and Dad stopped it and asked for the driver if we could hitch a ride. The rest of us got on board before she could say no. After that, it was smooth sailing. The terminal was pretty crowded, but people moved people moved out of our way when they heard us coming. The driver was dropped us off our gate, but the door was closed. Thought that meant we had missed our flight and we could turn around and enjoy a nice Christmas Eve at home. But it turned out the flight was delayed, and so all that stress was for nothing. The reason the flight was delayed was because of the bad weather, and it was going to be another hour before we got on the plane. We looked for a place to sit down in the boarding area, but people were hogging the seats. Mom told me that once we'd got on the plane, we'd be in the air for about 6 hours, which was news to me. I asked her for some money, and I bought a couple of magazines, some snacks, and headphones at a shop near our gate. The only thing I needed that the shop didn't have was socks. My sock was still soaking wet from stepping in that puddle, so I went to the bathroom to rinse it out in the sink. So that's the end of our video right now. Please watch the next part for what happens if they get on the flight correctly, or if they just go home and go to Christmas Eve. Go home and have a nice Christmas Eve for Heffley. Bye guys.